Hey everybody, good afternoon. I wanted to make a follow-up video to kind of discuss what we talked about in class today in our Zoom sessions about how to estimate irrational numbers and square roots. Basically, any type of number that is not a perfect square is what we call an irrational number. If you remember, irrational numbers, they never stop after the decimal point. They just have numbers that keep coming and coming and coming after the decimal point. And they'll go on infinitely. So for example, like let's think about a number that's not a perfect square, something like 94, okay? So I'm going to evaluate this here in a second, but if I had to guess, my best guess about the square root of 94 without looking at it or anything, it's probably going to be about 9.5-ish, 9.6 maybe, somewhere in there. So let's find out. So the square root of 94 is 9 point, it would really round to like 9.7. So I wasn't that close, but you know, I'm kind of right in there. All right. Now, how did I do that? No, I didn't put it in the calculator and do it before I started the video. It's mainly because I've been doing this for a long time and I know what my square roots are. But I'll show you how to get to this point and how I did that. Basically, when you're looking at an irrational number that never repeats or never terminates, it's impossible to get an exact amount. Now, because that decimal number never stops. Now, I know what you're thinking, but whoa. This number stops. The 5 is the last digit. Right. Calculators either do one of two things. They either round that last digit or they truncate it. It just kind of depends on the make and calculator. But this 5 might have been a 4 and then it got rounded up, or maybe this digit is a 5 and it just stopped and it doesn't give any more digits. But this is not an exact answer. This is an approximation. This is what we call approximately equal to. So, for example, I could say that the square root of 94 is approximately 9.6, 9.7, however we truncate or round, depending upon it. Okay? So, for example, like let's evaluate the square root of 8 without using a calculator. Where would it go on a number line? Is it closer to 2? Is it closer to 3? Well, to figure this out, what you really want to look at is the square root of 8 closer, what perfect square is it closest to? Or what's the one that it falls in between, I guess is a better way of saying it. So I know the square root of 8 falls between two perfect squares, 4 and 9, right? The square root of 4 is less than the square root of 8, and the square root of 8 is less than the square root of 9. So if I was to put the square root of 4 on the number line, I'd put it right here under 2 because the square root of 4 is 2. And then in this one, I would put it underneath the 3. I would put the square root of 9 underneath 3 because that's what the square root of 9 is. What you would need to do in your notes is you're going to move the square root of 8 where it best fits on the number line. What do you think? Is it closer to 4? Is it closer to 2? Or is it closer to 3? If you said closer to 3, you're 100% correct. So what you're going to want to do is click that little box there. You're going to use your arrows or your mouse and drag it and drop it, but you're going to drop it right down and plop it right about there. And that's about where the square root of 8 would fall on a number line. And we put it closer to, since 8's closer to 9 than it is 4, I would graph the square root of 8 closer to the square root of 9 than to the square root of 4. One way you can always think about which one you should, put it closer to is think about this. Just subtract the numbers here. 8 minus 4 is 4. 9 minus 8 is 1. So that would mean since the difference between these two is smaller than the difference between these two, then this number that I'm evaluating would be closer to that perfect square, okay? So let's look at another one. The square root, we're going to estimate the square root of 83 to the nearest integer. The number that's nearest 83 without having any, decimals, all right? So I need to find what two perfect squares 83 sits, and then I'm going to find their square roots, all right? Well, if you remember, 9 times 9 is 81. So 81 is a perfect square. And then 10 times 10 is 100. So 100 is a perfect square. So the greatest perfect square that is less than 83, meaning the largest perfect square that's smaller than 83, is 81. I mean, 16's less than 83, but it's not very close to it. Okay? So that's why we're looking here. So is less than 81, and the square root of 81 is 9. The least perfect square greater than 83 is 100. And again, I know 121 and 144 are bigger than 83, but I want the two perfect squares that 83 falls between, okay? So it falls right between those two perfect squares. And I know that square root of 100 is 10, okay? So now if you think about where they fall on a number line, the square root of 81 is 9, and that's been a problematic thing. This silly little box is there. One thing you can do to get rid of that, you could, if when you drag that, it goes behind it, go to order and just click send to back, okay? Another thing you could do, because this one's going to do it too, drag the square root of 100 right here. I don't really need this, so you could just right-click that and then just delete it. But basically, I know that 83 falls between 81 and 100. Now, where should I put the square root of 83? Should it be closer to 81 or should it be closer to 100? Right, it should be closer to 81. So I'm going to put that like kind of right about there on the number line. All right, so if you need a few minutes to pause and get your slide 2 to look like this, slide 3 to look like this, take it now. All right, thanks for continuing to get your notes done. Okay, now you might want to use an inequality. All right, so for this inequality, what we're writing is that the square root of 81 is less than 83. And let me rephrase that. What I know is that 81 is less than 83, which is less than 100. I also know that I can rewrite the square root of 81 as 9 squared. And I could rewrite 100 as this 10 squared. Okay? Now, this find the square root of each number. Well, what they're showing us then is that in order to find the square root, I have to square the term underneath it. So 9 squared is the square root of 81. And 10 squared is the square root of 100. So I know that 83 falls in between those two. So the square root of 83 is between 9 and 10. So since 83 is closer to 9 on a number line, thanks for playing along at home, the best integer estimate for the square root of 83 is 9. All right, the last thing for today is this. You all are going to complete this last slide 4, on your own and have it ready for class on Monday, okay? So all of the inequality that you're going to do here, all of the boxes that you need to fill are going to be right here, okay? Everything that you need to fill in is going to be right here. If you're confused as to what to do, go back to slide 3 and look at this example. And everything that's done up here is what you're doing in slide 5. The only difference is, in slide 4. The only difference between slide 3's example and the one in slide 4 is that the numbers have changed, but everything that you need to solve and do, okay, is the same steps. It's just different numbers. Then over here, all of these boxes here are text boxes. So you can click and type it in. So if for some reason you think that right there you need to put the number 81, like you can click in there and type it. All right, I will tell you that you do not want to use 81. And again, if you're confused as to what to do, come back and look at all of this right here and you do the same things, but your numbers are different and you need to apply them to 135, okay? So that should get anybody that wasn't in class or needs a refresher as to what to do kind of caught up from our notes today. Other than that, have a great day. I know Friday is asynchronous learning, but if you need help, please feel free to email me, and I can open up my office hours and get you logged in, okay? So, but by Monday, I need everybody to be caught up and have all of your slides 1 through 4 looking like completed, basically. 2 and 3 need to look exactly like I just did. You'll do 4 on your own, and we'll talk about it. All right? Have a great day. Bye.